Long week and it's only Monday.
I was just going to say, it feels like it should be at least Thursday.
Friday, I say.
Friday. Pizza, beer. Yeah.
Well, we have the beer.
Yes, we do.
You can't have pizza tonight.
No, but I can have the beer.
Hey, friends, you're watching BrainStormAcres. I'm Henry.
And I'm Irene.
We have a couple of topics to talk about today. One of which is solar power, our solar system, and is it reliable? And the other one is a lot of stuff that we're doing in the Every Bit Counts Challenge.
Right. The Every Bit Counts Challenge, if you haven't been following on this, was started last year by Three Rivers Homestead on Instagram. And the whole point of it was for everyone to try to do something, and you made up your own rules. So if you wanted to do it every day, once a week, once a month, however you wanted to do it, but do something. And when I say do something, what I mean is put away something. So buy an extra pack of spice. The consomme at the grocery store is on sale. Pick up an extra one. Just so that you have some sort of a little stash against things that go wrong. The road is closed because, you've got a foot of snow. It rained. Your car's not running well. You're tired and you just really want to, any of those things. Or you go to the grocery store and there's nothing there. Most people who are involved in it are actually storing things that they have raised themselves or grown themselves. But we recognize that not everyone can grow everything.
Yeah, so there's things that you can put aside, you can put up, you can store that you buy at the big box store. If you go to big box stores, you can pick up at your grocery market, or if you have a local farmer,
right,
rancher.
For instance, we don't grow our own meat here, but the other day we went to a big box store. We picked up a large economy size pack of hamburger, and we have like 14 meals worth of hamburgers frozen individually. So we have 2 burgers per package frozen in the deep freeze sitting there. When we decide we want a package of hamburger for dinner for the 2 of us, grab that out, defrost it super quick, ready to go. We have been posting every day. Now, we don't always get the stuff on Instagram. I always get the pictures taken, but yeah, there's times that, I wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and forgot to put that. Oh, well, I'm not going to go. I actually have done it before at like 11:30 at night a couple times, but I usually prefer to be asleep at 11:30 at night. So we have the pictures of everything we've done. And we had done, was it the first 9 days of the month we did in the previous one?
Yeah, we did the first 9 days of the Every Bit Counts Challenge.
Right.
In the last Q&A that we posted.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a little more than 9 days this time.
Right. Well, we had planned to do another one in there, but life's been very wackadoodle. And we've had some really terrible outages in terms of internet here lately. We're not the only ones, because we've seen some other YouTubers in Arizona have the same sort of problems where they couldn't do lives and everything else. So,
well, things happen.
Yeah, it does. It does. Sometimes it's the weather and just sometimes it's lousy service.
Now, a lot of times you see Irene doing the canning here on the homestead, but just the other day I set up the canning.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had to go check out something for a potential solution for our water woes.
Right, right.
So I set that all up, and we jarred it up together.
Right.
And I set the pressure canner going, and Irene...
And he ran off and did stuff, and I just monitored it and watched the timer and all that kind of stuff. It's not brain surgery.
It's easy. A lot of these things you just need to take the few minutes it takes to set things up and actually do it.
Yeah, it's not hard at all. I don't really think of the pressure canner as being any more difficult to use than the water bath canner. One of the things, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's way shorter. It depends on what we're making because of our higher altitude situation. If we water bath can something, we have to add 10 minutes to any water bath. Whereas if we pressure can it, all we do is put it on 15 pounds instead of 10 pounds. So that's no difference in time or anything else. So
actually, it's shorter, the canning that we did.
Oh yeah, it was super short because it was, if we'd been water bath canning, it would have taken longer.
There are a lot of things that you can freeze, can, dehydrate, freeze dry if you have a freeze dryer.
Yeah.
You know, there's something that a lot of people don't think about. There's only two of us, and lemons, for example, we can get a large bag of lemons for about $5, or we can go to the grocery store and get 4 lemons for
Well, last time I was at the grocery
$5.
store, they were 2 for $1.
You can juice those lemons, put them in an ice cube tray, freeze them, and then bag them up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to save some citrus, especially for cooking.
Yeah, yeah. Well, sometimes you just can't get decent citrus in the grocery store, or it's ridiculously priced. So buy it when it's cheap, turn it into ice cubes. We've got these wonderful, the flexible, they look like rubber, kind of, ice cube trays. And we've got multiple sizes. And they make them in all different sizes. In fact, we had actually debated getting some fancier ones that we never did get. But they came in 1/4 cup ice cubes and 1/2 cup ice cubes too. So if you were wanting to, if you knew that you always used a 1/4 cup or a 1/2 cup in your specific recipes, you could literally freeze them perfectly, then stash them once they're frozen in a bag and throw them in the freezer.
Let's see, so far in the past 2 weeks, we've frozen tomatoes, we've juiced tomatoes and unfrozen tomatoes and juiced them.
Mm-hmm.
We've canned them up. What else have we done?
Let's see, I did
You saved some dill seeds the other day.
save some dill seeds. We've done several batches of green beans, like a lot of batches. The goal is to have at least 1 meal of green beans per week for the year. And the year has to run from whenever you start using this year's green beans through until your next year's harvest. So for us, that's usually July sometime that we get our first green bean harvests off.
Although this year
It was
hail,
July because we got hailed on, you know. But usually we can count on it through. So you know, it's a goodly number of weeks, and we do like to use green beans in stir fry too. So that's another thing. So when I freeze them up, I freeze portions for the 2 of us, and I also freeze portions for a big backpack that would be used with stir fry. Oh, I did some greens. I froze some greens.
and I preserved some bananas that were getting ready to go overripe.
Right.
I made
banana bread.
banana muffins.
Yep.
And
We actually have several batches of banana muffins and bread and stuff in the freezer.
so Irene will be having some muffins here. In fact, I think she had one yesterday.
Yeah, I had one for breakfast. Yeah, and I also had part of one for lunch.
You didn't tell me that.
You weren't here. You were running an errand.
I was busy doing something else with the potential big purchase.
Right. Let's see what else. Oh, I have had several questions lately about is it too late to start things in the garden?
Most things you can still start.
Well, here's the things you need to know. You need to know when your last date of frost is, and you need to know what the number is on the packet in terms of how many days to maturity. So if I'm talking about radishes that are ready in 35 days, and my first date of frost is mid-October, I could get several crops off.
No problem.
And you know, and there's certain things that are not as fragile as others. For instance, lettuce, while you might think of it as being a fairly fragile vegetable, really isn't. It's quite tolerant of cold. So, in fact, it prefers cool weather to hot weather. Brassicas, which is all the cabbage family, they are good down to about 20 degrees. There's a lot that you can still grow. Now, obviously, you're not going to grow something like a tomato or a pepper from scratch now unless you have a heated greenhouse or unless you live in southern Florida or someplace like that.
Now, there's something else to be said here, and that is when you read your seed packet, when it says days to maturity, be aware that some seeds are talking about days to maturity from transplant into your garden.
Right, and that's a big one. That's where the tomatoes and peppers and things like that come in. You know, it'll say days to maturity, and they mean from transplant. Well, how many weeks did you have to have it hanging around before you could transfer it? Oh, 6 or 7.
Yeah,
Okay.
so those things you're not going to get off.
No, but
maybe.
there's lots of things. Radishes, lettuce, spinach, cabbage, pak choi, kale. You know, there's lots of things like that. Simply look at the numbers and also understand which things are super frost sensitive and which aren't. And that also comes around to the question of just because you can grow it, should you? You know, you have to think about the sensibility of it. Like, we sometimes wind up swamped under piles of stuff. So for instance, if I were going to start lettuce this week, which I plan to do, by the way, I would probably start 4 lettuce plants. Not 6 or 10 or 12, because they would all come off at the same time approximately within a week or two. And then we'd be sitting there going, who else can we give lettuce to? In general, there's still an awful lot. And in the southern states, people down in, Florida, South Georgia, places like that, some of them can even be growing some of the squashes and stuff like that now. We have a bunch of stuff in the greenhouse, but it's in the greenhouse. And some of that is an experiment to see what happens. And if it harvests, we'll know that. I'll have it all on, in my computer, so I'll be able to say, oh, well, now I understand that worked or that didn't work. So keep records, because it's very helpful. It's nothing, there's very few things worse than the next year you're going, wow, that was the best variety of stuff I ever grew. What kind was it?
Well, one of the problems that everybody has from time to time is mix-ups in your records.
Oh yeah, well, I totally missed a few things. We were harvesting potatoes this week. That was another thing we did this week.
And what happened there was, we weren't sure about what some of the varieties were that we were planting at the time we were planting.
Right, and I'd eventually figured it all out. I mean, one of the things I don't like, and this is a message for all you seed providers out there, do not send me, if I buy a gourmet pack of potatoes and it's 6 types of potatoes in there and there's a couple of the same color, please put them in, you've put them in separate bags. Please label the freaking bags. I should not have to go to your website and sit there with the pictures going, let's see, does that potato look like this one or does it look like that one? That's really annoying.
Sounds like you were really irritated by that.
I was totally annoyed by that. And I'm still basically suffering the consequences of it. And at the time, we were faced with bad weather. We were faced with all kinds of things going on. And we were trying to get these things in.
We had 2 days to get everything in the outside garden because there was storms, there was winds.
Yeah, and it was miserable weather. It was just everything all over.
The ground had to be dried out enough to make furrows. So
it was one thing after another, and we've gotten potatoes.
So you do what you have to do.
You do what you have to do.
Hey, you know what?
Yes.
What?
I think you're done.
There's one more thing that I wanted to address, and that is, how reliable is solar energy? Solar power. I had a comment from a viewer of our channel said, it sure seems like you have a lot of problems with your solar. Do you think we have a lot of problems with our solar?
There's times when it feels like that, when you're in the middle of renovating or something like that. But if you're a recent viewer, you came in just in time to watch us renovate the household system, and then you've seen the studio system fail twice. The studio system is 16 years old.
Right. All the parts in that were 16 years old.
16 years old.
And we had a specific part fail, at least temporarily, in a fashion that caused a cascade of other failures that were difficult to see at the time.
It's like in your car when you have an intermittent short in the engine. Anyone who's ever had an intermittent short in their engine knows exactly what I'm talking about. The mechanic can't find it, and they won't be able to find it usually until something fails. So meanwhile, you have to sit there and suffer with a car that's doing something wonky. And even with the fancy schmancy computerized systems, sometimes they can't detect it.
Especially with the computerized systems. How many days have we been without power in the past 17 years here on the homestead? Can you think of one?
Probably. There's probably been once or twice when there was, but it wasn't like totally without power. We just chose to turn it off at some point in the evening because we would turn off the generator.
I was thinking about have we ever gone without electric power because something is broken here on the homestead? And the answer to that is no. I can't think of a single day when we didn't have power. So in the past 16, 17 years, power has been out in town a whole stack of times.
Oh, yeah. We found out about it was Henry had called the gas station because we knew there had been a power outage up here. And obviously if there's no power, they can't pump gas. And he'd called the gas station to make sure that he could get gas, and he didn't get an answer. And I'm like, let me go online. And I went online and checked the power supplier.
No power.
No power for this whole area. I'm like, I might as well stay home because there's still gas in town because there's no generators. None of the gas stations around here have backup generators.
No. You know what time it is?
What?
Time to say goodbye, Irene.
Okay. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I wasn't sure about everything that Henry was talking about today, so I'm kind of clue-free as to how much he wanted to divulge.
Well, that's it. We still have a big secret that's bubbling away on the back burner.
Yes, it is bubbling away.
Don't forget to go look for the hashtag Everybitcountschallenge.
Yeah.
In addition to us doing this on
It's a
YouTube,
whole stack of people on Instagram.
Living Traditions and Three Rivers Homestead are doing a lot with this on their channels.
On Instagram, there's people who are doing it every day. There's other people who will do it once a week. There's other people who do it whenever they get around to it. That's kind of where I am right now. The whole point was just to do something so that you don't get caught with your trews down around your knees.
It really is time to say goodbye.
It is. So until next time.
Bye.
Bye.